What's going on, guys? We are live for the weekly MMA live chat. This is actually the 71st one. How crazy is that? The 71st MMA live chat. Thank you guys all for joining me. It is August 24th, 2022. I have no idea where the time has gone. It's every week I'm like, how the heck are we another week in to 2022? I remember in the beginning of the year we had that those 3 weeks of no UFC cards, and now it's already almost September. We have 4,601 subscribers, which is crazy to me. We just hit 4,000 3 or 4 weeks ago, I believe it was. So we're almost to 5,000 subscribers. If you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. Do me a favor. I see most of you have already done it, but do me a favor and like this stream. I would greatly appreciate it. If you have people who would enjoy it, share it with them. Otherwise, I don't want fake subscribers or fake watchers or anything. But if you have friends that watch MMA, share the channel with them. I would greatly appreciate it, so we can get to 5,000 subscribers. So, for some reason, let me check and make sure does everything sound all right? Let me just check one here and make sure everything looks all right. For some reason, it doesn't look right on my screen, but let's take a look. For some reason, does the color look off a little bit to anyone else? I don't know if it's just because it's brighter in here today or somehow, or I don't have any different lights on, so I don't know. I have no clue. Let me look at last week's. It looks a little bit different for me today. I'm looking at my video here. Let me go look at last week's live chat. Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, it looks a little bit brighter in here. I don't know. Anyway, guys, we're going to talk about UFC 278. We're going to do a UFC 278 recap, discussing Leon Edwards' brutal 5th round KO of Kamaru Usman to grab the welterweight title. We're going to talk about what's next for Leon Edwards, even though I already have a video discussing that on the channel. We're going to talk about Tony Ferguson versus Li Jingliang at UFC 279. And I'm sure we'll talk about a bunch of other stuff too, but that's basically what we're going to talk about today. 278 is the massive topic. And as always, I'm going to answer any of your guys' questions. I just wish I could know why my screen looks so much brighter today. I wish I could know, but I have no idea. So I'm not going to mess with it now. It looks all right. But is blue today. Okay. Yeah, I have no idea. I was messing with some picture settings on my monitor. That's why I was a little bit that's why I was wondering why, maybe it was just the monitor. But either way, we'll get to the UFC 278 recap in a little bit. I'll read through some questions to start off. Sup, just came across your channel. Very nice content. Thank you. I like big booty. Thank you. Appreciate you. I have a question. Dana said he's working on a fight for Mr. Covington. What do you think he's going to face? Who do you think he's going to face? I think is what you meant to ask. Colby Covington. I actually find this, and it's funny, we get questions, and the next thing you know, I end up going off on a tangent for 10 minutes. But we'll talk about Colby Covington. Who could be next for Colby Covington? We'll talk about that first. I'll answer your question. I find it awfully funny. All of a sudden, Colby Covington is looking for a fight. We've been talking about who's next for Colby Covington since March. It is now almost September. It has been half a year since Colby Covington fought. And I know there was the whole sucker punch, and everyone's using that as a crutch for the reason Colby Covington has been radio silent. The guy's been in basically witness protection since the sucker punch. But does anybody else find this to be curious timing? Kamaru Usman loses his belt by KO. Khamzat Chimaev, as of a month ago, all of a sudden has an opponent. Now, all of a sudden, Colby Covington comes out of the woodworks, and I saw already Chael Sonnen and his buddies with Colby Covington. And I've talked about this quite a bit on the channel. But if you guys don't realize, there's certain media entities and there's certain former fighters, Chael being one of them, who do whatever they can to push certain narratives, whether it be because they want this person to get the fight, that's what they would prefer, whether it be they're friends with this fighter, whether it be, for some MMA media, it's just the bigger and better ratings for them. That's what's going on right there with Chael Sonnen. He's already saying Colby Covington's the closest to number one contender. We could really see Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington next. Absolutely not. The only answer for what's next for Colby Covington, and what I personally think should happen, because you look at the rankings right now. Let's go through the rankings real quick. Leon Edwards is definitely fighting Kamaru Usman in the trilogy. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Khamzat Chimaev has a fight with Nate Diaz. Gilbert Burns is supposedly fighting Jorge Masvidal, but that's up in the air, so Gilbert Burns could maybe be an option. Bilal Muhammad's fighting Sean Brady in October. Vicente Luque just lost. Shavkat Rakhmonov is fighting Wonderboy Thompson, who I skipped over because Wonderboy Thompson ain't taking the Colby Covington fight in a million years. And then you start getting outside the top. I'm already outside the top 15 with Shavkat. You got Michael Chiesa. You got Neil Magny. You got Li Jingliang. You got Michelle Pajeda. And then you also, and I don't know how did I skip over I must have skipped over two names. Oh, because I was talking about Bilal versus Sean Brady, and then I started back up at Sean Brady. At number 6, you have Jeff Neal, who's coming off a good win over Vicente Luque. Before that, he got a win over, was it Neil Magny? I can't remember. Who was it before that? Jeff Neal. I don't think it was Neil Magny. I feel like he lost to Neil Magny. They beat Vicente Luque, KO'd him in the third round. Who did he just beat before that? Santiago Ponzinibbio by split decision. I knew it wasn't Neil. So you look at the rankings right now. You have a couple options. You have Gilbert Burns at number 4 if he doesn't fight Jorge Masvidal. You have Jeff Neal, and that's pretty much it. They're the only two options. He's not fighting Jorge Masvidal again. I mean, who would even want to see that? So it really comes down to Jeff Neal or Gilbert Burns. I think the best fight would be the Gilbert Burns fight. I think Gilbert Burns beats Jorge Masvidal. I don't necessarily want to see that. I'd rather see Jorge Masvidal go do something else. I don't know what should be for Jorge Masvidal. Maybe a Conor McGregor fight. So I could see the UFC doing Gilbert Burns versus Colby Covington, and then maybe next year they're going to do Jorge versus Conor, because that's a massive fight. But what I would actually like to see, I think Khamzat Chimaev is going to go out there and brutalize Nate Diaz at UFC 279. The guy used to be an active fighter. He used to say, I want to fight every week. Let's get him a quick turnaround against Colby Covington in November, December. I'm dying. One of my most anticipated matchups that hasn't come to fruition is Khamzat Chimaev versus Colby Covington. That's the fight to book. So to answer your question, Khamzat Chimaev after a win over Nate Diaz at 279, Gilbert Burns, or Jeff Neal. They're the only three options. Colby Covington has to fight one of those three. Has to fight one of those three. And I know what people are saying. Well, Khamzat Chimaev is in line for the belt. He should get a title shot, blah, blah, blah. Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman 3 is next. I know there's some people saying, oh, I want this fight. I want that fight, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And Kamaru Usman got KO'd. Why do we need to see a rematch? Any people who were campaigning for Kamaru Usman not to get a rematch, you cannot convince me that they are not a Kamaru Usman hater and they're scared that Usman's going to get his belt back. Because I don't even necessarily like Kamaru Usman. I like Leon Edwards way more than I like Kamaru Usman. Let me put it that way. I don't necessarily dislike Kamaru Usman, but I don't necessarily like him. The only fight to make is Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman. And let me put it this way. If the same fight went down the way it did, but the roles were reversed, I would want Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards 3. If Leon Edwards was down 2-0 to Usman, but he won the entire fight and then got KO'd at the end, I would need to see a trilogy, because it's one of those fights where you're left and you feel like, did the better guy really win? Did the better guy really win? Because you make one mistake in MMA and next thing you know, you wake up looking at the lighting above the octagon. So that's the fight to make. That's the only fight to make. That's the biggest fight to make. So anyone saying otherwise, and I talked about this in my recent video, what's next for Leon Edwards? Jorge Masvidal? No. Ariel's out there already. I seen Ariel pushing for Nate Diaz if he shocks the world and beats Khamzat Chimaev, which first off isn't going to happen unless Chimaev gets injured, beating the living shit out of Nate Diaz. No, absolutely not. He's saying the UFC needs to give Nate Diaz $20 million and have him fight Leon Edwards in England. Who wants to see that? That is the most delusional thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Okay? And we'll talk about that more in a second. But the only options for Colby are Gilbert, Khamzat with the win over Nate Diaz, or Jeff Neal. They're the only options in my opinion. He's not getting a title shot. Absolutely not. No way, shape, or form should he get a title shot. So there you go. So before I even move on to the next questions, because now I'm already falling way behind in the chat, guys. Keep filling up the chat with questions. And I'll get to them in a minute. Ariel Helwani, and I just gave you a little bit of this information, but I wanted to put this out. Give more context to this. Ariel Helwani said, if Nate Diaz somehow gets the upset over Khamzat Chimaev, the UFC should pay him $20 million and have him fight Leon Edwards in the next welterweight title fight. What is this guy? If somebody suggested that to me in real life, let's say I'm talking to somebody, one of my friends or something about MMA, and let's say they're a hardcore MMA fan, and they say, you know what? If Nate upsets Khamzat, the UFC needs to break the bank and give him a title shot against Leon Edwards and Leon Edwards' first title defense. I would smack the shit out of them. Okay? First off, on many levels, if he won one fight since 2019, you want to give him a title shot? Second off, we just saw this fight last year and he got dominated for 4 rounds. He landed one punch the whole fight. And now you want to see a rematch? I mean, this guy wants so desperately for the UFC and all their fighters and all the roster of fighters. He wants them to act like they're in the WWE. And I'm not sitting here shitting on WWE. They have their own fan base. They're popular. But I'm just saying these people like Ariel who insist on trying to make everything WWE style, it's ruining the sport. I love Nate Diaz. He's one of my favorite fighters. Even if he beat Khamzat, let's say Khamzat beats the shit out of him for 3 rounds, Khamzat gasses himself out and Nate gets a finish. Under no circumstances should he get the next title shot against Leon Edwards. And anybody suggesting that deserves to be slapped. And even Nate Diaz doesn't want that. You think he wants to get beat up for 4.5 rounds by Leon Edwards again and probably 5 rounds this time because Leon's going to be prepared and not take him lightly in the 5th? I mean, some of these media entities are just ruining the sport. And, I get it. He just said it. He suggested it. But what happens here is he suggests something like this. And then the people listening, he's got the biggest following in MMA media. People listening are like, you know what? That's not a bad idea. And then fans start pushing for it. And that's his goal there. The only reason he's throwing that out there is not because the UFC listens to him. He's the last person Dana White and the UFC are listening to as far as going to take his advice and do what they want him to do. But he's trying to get the fans behind that narrative. And then if the fans start pushing for that, then guess what? Next thing you know, the UFC is like, you know what? We can make a boatload of money doing this. And then Ariel gets his little WWE drama show and he gets lots of clicks. And I know, Ariel came out recently and said, oh, we don't get paid off of clicks. Okay, we get that, Ariel. We get it. But at the end of the day, your job is based on what's drawing attention. It's no different than, it's a little bit different because I don't care one way or another. I'm just talking about what's relevant. But it's no different than making YouTube videos online. I'm not going to talk about something unless I deem it super important that nobody cares about. So at the end of the day, he wants these big events. And that's why none of the MMA media, and this brings me to UFC 279. I know I'm going on a huge rant here. I have yet to see anyone shitting on UFC 279. I've yet to see anyone. I can't find it. Because Khamzat Chimaev versus Nate Diaz will be popular with casuals. They don't care. They don't care that it's a terrible fight. They don't care that the fans are getting screwed over with a terrible pay-per-view that the UFC is going to charge us $85 for. And it drives me nuts. And this is exactly what drove me to start a YouTube channel. Because there's certain things that go on in the sport that just, everyone's like, oh, Khamzat Chimaev versus Nate Diaz, it's a spectacle. You know, the hype for Khamzat Chimaev versus Nate Diaz is going to be there. Can you imagine fight week? You got Nate Diaz, one of the biggest stars in the sport, versus Khamzat, who's an absolute killer, and he's number 3. No, it's a shit fight. It's a shit fight that shouldn't happen. And nobody's saying it. And it actually really drives me nuts. It really drives me nuts. But I'm going to stop because now I've already gone on for like 10 minutes off of one questions. What's up, Tommy? Look at me now. Fair enough. What's up, Billy? Good morning, Mohammed. Jeff Neal versus Colby, or no? I think I already covered that, but yes, basically. And guys, do me a favor. If you haven't already liked the stream, I would greatly appreciate it if you guys would like the stream. It helps the channel quite a bit. And also subscribe to the channel. If you're watching and you're not subscribed, subscribe. I do these every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. I can't stop watching the speeches Leon Corner gave him in between rounds. It's a great story. It's a great story for sure. Do you think Usman or Israel Adesanya will eventually move up permanently? No, I do not. I did not think that. Nate is booked. Tony is booked. Burns versus Jorge. Poirier versus Chandler are being talked about. Colby versus Conor would be a lot of fun to see. That's never going to happen, bro. I mean, I think it would be fun to see. I think it'd be very fun to see. But you know what Colby would do to Conor McGregor? It would drop that man on his head. But the build-up would be fun. What's the beef with Ariel? I think I already went over that. Looks fine in the back, but your light is blue today. Is my light always blue? Mostly always blue? What time zone are you in? For me personally, it's hell watching the UFC in the UK. I'm on the East Coast, so it's not too bad. I can't imagine. 281, the card isn't fully announced yet, but it's looking pretty solid. It's looking pretty solid, for sure. It's looking pretty solid. I'm probably so far behind on the chat right now. I'm going to have to take a drink. Looks brighter. UFC 281 is greater than UFC 280. Somebody ban this guy. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, guys. But that's crazy. I can't believe you would even suggest such a thing. How dare you? What's the next piece of MMA memorabilia you're looking to get? I personally want a Charles Oliveira autograph. There's so many cool pictures of him choking people out, and I can't find any autographs from him. Hey, what's going on, Joey? Can't get over how epic that Leon KO edit where it plays the Rocky music. Yes, it is awesome. I've seen that quite a bit getting shared around. Jeez Louise. What's this prediction? Dustin versus Colby at MSG for 5-rounder in a co-main or featured fight type of thing? I don't think so. They already got 2 title fights on there. Okay, where am I at? I'm trying to skip through a little bit, guys. I'm sorry. If I missed your question, just post it. I'm trying to catch up to the chat a little bit. Do you think Khabib could have dominated Usman, Colby, Burns at welterweight? No. I think he probably would have lost most of those. But it would have been interesting. Hey, Joey, on some real shit, Luke Rockhold was genuinely inspirational. That look at that man that truly walked through hell and went the distance. Fair enough. Hey, Joey, I wanted to ask you a big favor. I'm starting a talk show about MMA and boxing. I wanted to have you as a guest if you were interested. How does that sound? I don't know if I have the time, but maybe in the future. Maybe not this week or right away. But maybe in the future. I'm not going to say no, but I don't know if I really have the time to do it right now. I got a lot of stuff going on, but maybe. Is the seafood in Maryland really that good? Yes, the crabs are amazing. Crab cakes are amazing. What's going on, Jacob? What's up, Sinister? What is Tony's best chance against Leach? if he mixes in the wrestling, but he's not going to mix in the wrestling, and it's going to be annoying. I still think Tony can win. I think he's the better fighter, actually. But he's hittable, and Leach has big power. And I feel like he's going to lose. Okay, I'm trying to skip through a little bit. Trying to skip through a little bit. I laughed at the exchange between Daniel Cormier and Masvidal. You don't get unlimited title shots. Very true. How you pick, I don't know what you're asking there. Izzy versus Colby in the future? Thoughts? Absolutely not. I have no desire to see that. Izzy would wreck him badly. It'd be an ugly fight. Where was I at? I'm trying to just catch up. They wanted $500 for a terrible seat at UFC 281. Yeah, it's expensive. It's expensive. Will Jeff Neal beat Colby? Probably not. He'll get out grappled. How many bottles of water have you drank today? Probably like 9, maybe. Normally you have it a darker blue. Okay, fair enough. UFC 280 is a fight fan's dream. Yes, it is. Okay, I'm looking for some questions. I'm trying to catch up. Keep the questions coming, guys. Keep the questions coming. Watching your reaction a few days ago when you saw the head kick KO and then you jumped out of the seat, I was laughing out loud. Laughing a lot. I thought you said laughing out loud. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was pretty funny, huh? It was pretty funny. Rockhold said he thought he won today on the MMA Hour. What do you think? I thought there was a case to be made that he could have won the second and third. I thought Costa won, but there were so many big shots landed. It's like you could make the case like maybe he stole this round or that round. I can't remember my initial thoughts. Which round was better for Rockhold? Was it 2 or was it 3? But one of the rounds I thought Rockhold should have definitely got, I think. Opinion on sushi? I don't need it, so I don't have any. That's no problem. I have nothing fully planned at the moment, but if you're down at some stage, that would be amazing. I sent you a DM on Twitter. Whenever you have the interest, just let me know. Fair enough. My Twitter's been going crazy lately because I've responded to a couple things, and I literally been getting messages and like nonstop notifications from Twitter. So I literally haven't really been able to check anything. It's absolutely insanity. By the way, guys, if you wanna follow me on Twitter, it's at MMA Joey C for Twitter and Instagram. At MMA Joey C. So go follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Tony throws an Imanari roll and ankle locks him. The reason we are hearing from Colby now is because he couldn't get a title fight with Usman happen. I would have waited for the right chance too. Yeah, but Colby's consistently inactive. He's consistently turning down fights, and we're going to reward this? Absolutely not. Can't wait to see Islam get choked out and Izzy out cold. That would be insanity. I think both of those have a real possibility, particularly the Islam one. But I feel like Islam may get KO'd on the feet. Honestly, everyone's thinking Oliveira is going to submit him. I think Oliveira may go out there and TKO him on the feet. As far as Izzy Pereira, I'm like back and forth on that one. If Yuri were to do the same head kick to 205 Usman, yeah, Usman would have got KO'd. I've been saying forever, Usman has no chance. They're just promoting him. That's what they're doing. Why the UFC hate Tony Ferguson that much or just don't care about him? They just don't care about him. They just don't care. They just need somebody with a relative name that they could plug into a spot. So it's annoying as hell. No, he couldn't. Conor could definitely KO Colby. Usman finishes him, then dropped him. I don't know. I think Conor gets vastly out-grappled by Colby badly. Imagine Charles versus Islam turns out to be the worst. I'd be so disappointed. Where do you rank Chimaev pound for pound after? No, I don't. It doesn't change. I don't rank him right now. I hate pound for pound in general, though. Thoughts on Tony versus Li Jingliang? I hate it. I love Tony Ferguson, and it's just a slap in the face. We got to watch Nate Diaz and Tony on the same card, not fighting each other. I have a whole entire dedicated video on it on the channel if you want to check it out. But I hate it. I absolutely hate it. What's up, Torrin Brown? Do you like museums? Do you read history? Any chance you can? Any chance you can do more politics and current events? You seem level-headed. I do like museums. I do love history, actually. But there's no chance I'm doing politics or current events ever. But thank you for calling me level-headed. MMA for now, my friend. MMA for now. I don't even have 5,000 subs yet. So, I can't branch out. I don't even have time to do what I do now. Alice versus Colby at welterweight. Colby dominant. Colby could get submitted. So who would you put Colby against if you had your way? I'd put him against Khamzat Chimaev. That's the fight I'm dying to see. Still a shame Chimaev versus Colby couldn't get made. The Masvidal assault really... Now, I think people just made that up. We have no evidence to believe that Colby can't fight. People keep saying, oh, he's got a court case. We don't even know that. People literally made that up and ran with it. That there's nothing more that drives me nuts. And I've said maybe that's why there's a chance. But people act like it's 100% concrete because Colby got sucker punched that he can't fight for some reason. There's been no legitimate sources ever reported that. Not the MMA media, not Colby himself, not Dana said it, not that Dana's a legitimate source, but you get my point. There's no evidence to support the fact that Colby could not fight because he got sucker punched. There is no, let me repeat that for anybody who does not understand, because everyone, for some reason, it's like the Mandela effect. Somebody said that at one point in time and everyone has just ran with it. There's never been any evidence that Colby could not fight because he got sucker punched. Colby has a history of being inactive and cherry-picking matchups. And if Chimaev smokes Nate Diaz, which I believe he will finish him in the first round, then I say they book that fight immediately. That's the fight that I want to see badly. Who do you think Colby's best win? I am starting to think his best win is Jorge Masvidal. Outside of that, his resume is literally garbage. I think Oliveira will be better on the feet. Agreed. I feel like Oliveira will come out with some crazy pressure since he's not scared of the takedown. He might be a little bit more nervous about the takedown in this fight, but we'll see. I think he comes out with some good pressure, though. The UFC likes to feed legends to up-and-comers. Happens all the time. Yeah, but Li Jingliang is not an up-and-comer. Li Jingliang has been around for a while, and he's really not ever going to be anything. So it's kind of annoying. I don't understand why Colby's so inactive. He should just not. Yeah, I mean, it's annoying. He fights barely ever. Do you see what Gaethje said about Oliveira's power? Yes, I did. That's crazy. Can you dong beat Merab? Definitely. But I'd probably pick Merab. Figgy's the most underrated fighter in the UFC. I disagree. Most people think Figgy's amazing. So I don't know where that comes from. Dana was heartless AF when Tony tore his knee and got stripped. But like you said, it's the fight game, not the kind game. There you go. I think Colby has an easier chance at middleweight title than welterweight title. Who in the top 5 of middleweight besides maybe Brunson could wrestle with him? I mean, it's a massive size advantage for all those guys. Marvin Vettori beats him. Everyone in the top 5 beats him. Colby acts like he would have some success at middleweight. Never. He would never have any success at middleweight. It just wouldn't happen. Yes, I would have rather saw Tony versus Magny, but I would rather saw Tony versus Diaz. That's the fight that needs to get made. I'm hoping Khamzat pulls out. I think Ferguson can get it done against Li Jingliang. I'm not going to call you crazy because I think people have been dancing on Ferguson's grave a little bit too much. I think it's possible he wins. Bilal versus Brady. I'm 50-50 on that fight. I've been popping back and forth. I get really sad when I think about how fun Tony versus Nate would have been in 2019. Yeah. Thoughts on Burns versus Bilal? I think Burns beats him pretty easily. How do you see Colby versus Khamzat playing out? I think Khamzat probably beats him up on the feet and stops him. Are you going to watch the 7th? Probably. Is that next week? What do you think happened to Jamestown Colony? History, Joey. What are you talking about? What do you think happened? Don't we know what happened? Colby will settle out of court 90% positive. Yeah, most likely. Who knows? How much is Paulo Costa worth per fight? I don't know, man. I have no idea. Do you watch Dan? Yes, I do. I've streamed some of them. At least Colby isn't as bad as Gillespie. Yeah, Gillespie should just be cut at this point, in my opinion. Excited for Dern versus Xiaonan? No, absolutely not. Other than Jorge Masvidal, Colby doesn't have a win against a current ranked welterweight. I think he's the most overrated fighter because he talks so much. No, what it is, it's not really him talking, because when he talks, it's actually cringy. It's not even funny or good. Like Conor used to be actually good. It's because he had 2 close fights with Usman. It's the Alexander Gustafsson effect, is what I call it. What's up, Rhythm? Who would you pick between Colby and Leon? I'd pick Leon. I think his grappling is just good enough, and his striking is way better than Colby's. And Colby doesn't have a power threat. He's going to avoid Khamzat like the plague. The only way Colby will fight him is if it's champ and he's got no choice. He'll never fight him. I don't think we'll ever see it. I don't think we'll ever see it, unfortunately. We will never, ever, ever, ever see it. Which is actually really annoying, because I'm dying to see that matchup. Bobby Knuckles versus Alex Pereira. How do you see it? I think Robert Whittaker beats him up and out wrestles him too. How do you realistically see Jorge versus Burns going? Burns just grappling him. But Burns does have a little bit of a suspect chin, so I could see Jorge putting him out. Pettis versus Tony is everything Nate versus Tony should have. Fair enough, fair enough. I'm just really upset we're not getting Nate Diaz versus Tony Ferguson ever. Ever. We're literally never getting it. We are never getting it, and it's so annoying. It's so annoying. Like after this UFC 279 card, I don't think Nate Diaz ever fights in the UFC again. Maybe the UFC matches his deal. Maybe. But it's sad that we have a fan favorite like Nate Diaz going out against a guy that's going to smoke him badly. Going to smoke him badly. And it's the fact that the MMA media is acting like this is cool, like this is a good matchup. As somebody said in the comments, apparently somebody said, this is appointment viewing. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. I've told you guys in so many videos before, since I started the channel, talked about it in a live stream. I'm never going to sit here and lie to you and say I'm excited for an event that I'm not excited for. Now, as far as UFC 279 as the spectacle, there's a hair of me that's intrigued in the spectacle alone. Like, is there going to be a press conference? That sounds like an interesting press conference. How bad does Chimaev beat him up? That's kind of interesting. But outside of those, like, very small aspects that I'm slightly intrigued of, I'm just pissed off. I'm just pissed off. I'd rather see Khamzat versus Li Jingliang too. This is a dumb fight, and it's all because the UFC and Dana want to be vindictive. So it's super unfortunate. It really is, guys. And it sucks that now we have to wait all the way to UFC 280 to have a decent event. So we'll have to wait around for a bit. We'll get to UFC 280, and hopefully we get a amazing card. We get no injuries there. Okay, before I get too far, because we're already almost 40 minutes into the chat, let's go over UFC 278. Let's talk about it. It's in the title. We've talked about it slightly here. Let me do something really quick. So we're 33 minutes in. I'm going to put a time screen. I'm going to put a timestamp in the description. So I got to type this down real quick. 33 minutes. UFC 278 recap. I'll actually make it 34 minutes. Okay. That timestamp later. Okay. Let's talk about UFC 278. I will get to more questions here in a minute. The main event. Actually, you know what? We'll start off with Merab versus Jose Aldo. Because this one is actually one that really disappointed me in more ways than one. This was one of the worst high-level fights that I've ever seen. It's one of the worst fights that I really thought, oh, I'm really anticipating this matchup. And then it just falls flat on its face. Jose Aldo loses via unanimous decision. Merab couldn't have put on a shittier performance. And I'm a huge Jose Aldo fan, okay? And I know someone's going to say, oh, well, you're only saying that because you like Jose Aldo and he's one of your favorite fighters. No, that's not why I'm saying that. I'm saying it because it's the truth. I love all aspects of MMA. Saruki and Gamrot was one of my favorite fights. It was so enjoyable. All the wrestling, all the scrambling, all the grappling exchanges throughout that fight. I love grappling. I'm not one of these people that said, oh, let me bang, bro. Let me bang, bro. Just bleed. That's all I want to see. Merab put on an absolute shit performance. And I put it on him because at least, I don't know. It's on both of them. It's on both of them at the end of the day. But I hold Merab more accountable because he was dictating the position. If all you're going to do is hold a guy against the cage and knee him to the thighs, this goes for any fighter. If that's all you're going to do in a fight is do that, then you deserve to be cut. And I know he was trying to go for takedowns that he couldn't get. We needed Herb Dean from the main event to be ref in that one. I don't even remember if Herb Dean was the ref on that one too. Because they needed to be separated multiple times. You should not be able to hold the position against the cage and knees to the thighs, and that's the only thing you're doing, and not be separated. You should be penalized for inactivity. You can't just knee to the thigh for, probably at least 13 minutes of a 15-minute fight, honestly. He was unable to take Aldo down. And for me, it proved nothing from Merab. I think his stock, if anything, went down. And I know a lot of people are very high on Merab. But for me, I couldn't be less high on Merab if I tried now. Merab has some of the ugliest striking I've ever seen. He doesn't even have that great of grappling. People say, oh, Merab's such a great grappler. Then you just haven't watched his fights. He hasn't been able to really take anyone down and control him. He's got a win over Aldo that's basically a non-existent knees to the thigh win. His win over Marlon Moraes, he could have arguably been stopped by the ref. And outside of Marlon getting destroyed or destroying him and gassing out, he wouldn't have won the fight. If Moraes didn't have cardio issues, he would have beat Merab badly. But he gassed out looking for the finish. And I really don't think Merab, he matches up well with some of the top guys. He would never beat Aljamain Sterling. I don't think, and I know they're friends, and he's not going to fight him. He's not beating Petr Yan because Petr Yan's going to defend the takedowns and beat the shit out of him. Beat the living shit out of him. I'm confident in that because I think Aljo's the better grappler. And I know Aljo had Petr Yan's back twice in the fight. But if you take the grand scheme of both fights, Petr Yan was the better grappler in both their fights. Stuffed the majority of takedowns, took Aljamain Sterling down multiple times. I understand that Sterling won the second fight with the back takes. I think those were lapses in judgment by Petr Yan in the fight where he thought he could scramble out of the position. He thought if Aljo tried to grab his back, he'd be able to get him off of him, and he wasn't able to. I think he made mistakes. I am very confident that Yan would beat Aljamain Sterling in a trilogy fight. Very confident. And I believe Aljamain Sterling is far superior than Merab on the ground and with the grappling. So Merab's not doing that to Petr Yan. I don't think he's doing it to TJ Dillashaw either. Now, where it gets interesting is you look at number 4, Corey Sandhagen. Corey's been, exposed a little bit by Sterling, but he's working on that. Marlon Vera probably loses to Merab because he doesn't have great takedown defense. But then you look at the striking, I could see Merab getting stopped by Sandhagen, getting stopped by Marlon Vera. Marlon Vera's, well, if he fought Marlon Vera, it would need to be a 5-round main event, in my opinion. So Merab 278, his stock went down. He looked like dog shit. And on top of that, he said, oh, I don't want to fight for the belt anyway. So now you put yourself in an even shittier spot because on top of everything else, the UFC is not going to want to book you against any of these top guys. You think the UFC wants him killing off future contenders when he's not going to fight for a belt? Now, I think his problem will come to an end come October because Aljamain Sterling is going to lose his belt against TJ Dillashaw. But I'm not impressed. GSP voice, I am not impressed with your performance. Moving on to the co-main event, Paulo Costa versus Luke Rockhold. What a crazy, wild fight. And I've said this multiple times. This was one of the worst, best fights that I've ever seen. It was super enjoyable. It was super gritty. But both guys looked terrible. They were exhausted from round one. It was just a weird, sloppy fight. Hands on the waist, hands on the knees. It's just been, I don't know how to describe it. And it's one of those fights where you come out of it, you don't know what to take away from it. Because Rockhold's been out for years. I picked Rockhold to win the fight. I thought Rockhold was better than people were giving him credit for. People were saying like Rockhold was a dead body. But Rockhold was just, I mean, the cardio looked terrible. And I know they're in Utah, but doesn't he live in Utah? I'm pretty sure he lives in Utah. So I don't know what's going on there. And Paulo Costa was supposed to go out there and brutalize him, and he really didn't. He rocked him a couple times. He got clipped badly. If Paulo Costa didn't have his granite chin, Luke Rockhold might have put him to sleep. So I think it's one of those fights where we had fun. It was fun while it lasted, but it's one of those fights afterwards you're like, ugh, that was ugly. So I enjoyed it, but it was a glorified street fight, as thou who shall not be named did say. But I don't know what Costa gets out of it now. Now, even though I believe Luke is better than people give him credit for, at the end of the day, Costa won a decision that was borderline close against a guy that's been out for years and looked like he never trained at all for cardio going into this fight. So I don't know what to make of it. I think Paulo Costa's stock drops. I think Luke Rockhold had a legendary retirement fight. Something tells me Luke's going to come back. I'm telling you guys right now. I feel like Luke's going to have one more fight. You heard it. You heard it from here. You heard it from me first. Sources are telling me. Hold on. Somebody clip this out for the future. Ready? Wait a second. Sources are telling me that his fight at UFC 278 against Paulo Costa will not be his retirement fight. Luke Rockhold will fight again. Breaking news per sources. Luke Rockhold will fight again after his loss at UFC 278. There you go. There's another per sources. Something tells me he's going to fight again, guys. I believe that Luke Rockhold will fight again. But if he doesn't, and I hope he doesn't, what a legendary fight, because even though he was out of shape, even though he had ring rust, even though he had been off for so many years, even though he had been brutally KO'd and his chin had been questioned by everybody, he took the toughest fight available to him. There's a lot of people who would have not come back after a long layoff, after being brutally KO'd, and pick a fight with Paulo Costa. He picked out the toughest fight available to him. There's some people coming off a not a great layoff and you know, in his last fight lost, and there's some people who would pick a middleweight equivalent of Cowboy Cerrone. The UFC would offer them, you know, you want this bum or you want this top contender, and they would have took the bum. You know, Conor McGregor did that when he came back against Cowboy Cerrone a while back. That's his only win in the last 6 years. But Luke Rockhold said, no, I want Paulo Costa. And he went out there, and even though he wasn't in the best shape, he put on a memorable performance, and you could tell he wanted it. He didn't show up for a check. Now, did he get paid? Of course he got paid. But it wasn't one of those fights where you're like, oh, this guy just showed up for a paycheck. He fought with an iron will. And even though it didn't look great, I respect that. And I think a lot of people should respect that. Because at any point in that fight, he could have gave up. I mean, he was mounted times by Costa. He was dropped multiple times by Costa. He could have just shelled up and let the ref save him. No. He refused to die. He went 3 hard rounds. And you got to respect that after so much time off, picking the toughest fight you can get. There's so many that wouldn't do the same. If he does come back and fight, the perfect matchup for him, and this is a big if, because if this person comes back to fight as well, I want to see Luke Rockhold, Chris Weidman too. If Chris Weidman decides to come back, I think Rockhold versus Weidman 2 is the fight to make. Okay, moving on to the main event while we're doing the UFC 278 recap. And again, I will get back to questions in a few minutes because this is in the title. I got to go through the UFC 278 recap. Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards. He loses his belt in the 5th round by head kick KO. An absolute brutal head kick KO. I've talked about this fight ad nauseum. I don't know how to feel about this fight anymore. I don't. I think it's really weird that there's so many people campaigning for Leon Edwards to fight anybody but Kamaru Usman. You know, I'm so happy for Leon Edwards. I'm so happy for Leon. I could not have been happier to see him get the title. I've been a defender of Leon Edwards. While everyone's been shitting on him and saying he doesn't deserve this fight and his win streak is terrible, blah, blah, blah. I've been saying time and time again, Leon Edwards deserves this title shot, and he is a real threat to Kamaru Usman. You can go back and watch the videos on the channel. I've talked about it on a litany of occasions, okay? But when I watched this first fight, there's a second fight, the rematch, it's hard for me to not look at that 5th round and say, you know what, Leon set that up and it was beautiful. But do I think that happens again? And the answer is no. I do not think it happens again. I believe in a trilogy. Kamaru Usman will win a trilogy. Unless this shot turns him into a Cody Garbrandt. And now he has the glass chin of all glass chins. I picked Kamaru Usman going into this second fight at 278. I said, you know what? Leon might win the 1st or 2nd round, but the superior grappling of Kamaru Usman and the superior cardio of Kamaru Usman will win him this fight, and he will take the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round. Now, in this fight, Kamaru Usman took the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and the 5th was uneventful, but I believe Kamaru Usman would have got the 5th as well had he not got brutally KO'd with 56 seconds on the clock. And so my prediction was pretty accurate outside of the KO. And people are looking at this fight, oh, Leon Edwards won, so now people think Leon Edwards has a better chance to beat Usman in the trilogy. I'm the opposite. I am more confident that Kamaru Usman beats Leon Edwards in a trilogy fight, barring his chin turning to absolute glass. So it's going to be interesting. I think you're going to see a Kamaru Usman who is more motivated than ever. We're going to see a motivated Kamaru Usman. I think we're going to see a Kamaru Usman that is going to be more defensively sound than ever. I think we're going to see a Kamaru Usman who's prepared to grapple as much as possible. And I think Kamaru Usman comes into this trilogy fight, which I believe we will see in February at UFC 284 or 285 in March. I believe we'll see Kamaru Usman go in there, out-grapple Leon Edwards for 4 or 5 rounds and win his title back. And while I'm happy for Leon Edwards to get the belt, I'm a little bit disappointed because I feel like the better guy didn't win. It has nothing to do with Leon Edwards. I know people are going to say, well, he got knocked out. We saw a large sample size. We saw 24 minutes of a fight of both of them in their prime. And I know people are saying, this is the worst Leon Edwards has ever looked. This is the worst he's ever felt. What else is he supposed to say? What else is he supposed to say? Is he supposed to say I was in my peak physical form and Kamaru Usman was better? Is that what he's supposed to say? Do you think he would say that if that was the case? No, he would not. Of course he's going to say it's the worst he ever looked. Okay? And people are going to say, oh, well, his cardio because of the elevation. And that. He was getting tired in the 4th and 5th round against Nate Diaz. So I don't buy that. I don't buy it at all. Now, do I think Leon Edwards is going to make adjustments from this fight as well? Yes. I think Leon is going to come in more motivated than ever as well because he's going to look at the second fight and he's going to be like, I don't want to lose because then everyone's going to call the second fight a fluke. So I have to win this trilogy now. I think he's going to look to crack that chin again. I think he might come out more aggressive in a trilogy fight. But I'm confident Kamaru Usman takes a trilogy. And that is the only fight to make. If you are suggesting otherwise, if you are suggesting any other fight than Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman 3 for the welterweight title, leave my chat right this second. Get out. That is the only fight to make. That is the only fight to make. I need to see Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman 3. If there's anyone deserving of the trilogy, of the immediate rematch, it's Kamaru Usman. If there's ever a fight narrative that plays out that warrants a rematch, it's Edwards versus Usman 2. I mean, Usman won the majority of the fight. And then he got KO'd in the last minute. We have to see a rematch. We have to find out who's the better fighter. And I talked about this in a recent video. You can go watch it on the channel. Who should Leon Edwards fight next, Usman or Khamzat Chimaev? And I talk about Colby Covington. I talk about Jorge Masvidal. I talk about Khamzat Chimaev. I talk about Usman's chances at a trilogy. For those of you saying that Leon Edwards needs to stay active, this actually gets me infuriated. Okay, guys? This actually gets me infuriated. Leon Edwards shouldn't have to wait around for Kamaru Usman. He got KO'd badly. He needs some time off. Let me break this down for you like I broke it down for you in that video. You need to go watch that video. We're in September. We're about to be in September. September, we already have a pay-per-view main event. October, the card's full. November, we already have a main event. December, we already have a main event. January, we're going to Brazil. So the next available slot for Leon Edwards to fight, regardless of who he's fighting, is February. Okay? That is 6 months away from now. You don't think Kamaru Usman can step back in there in 6 months? I don't know what sport you've been watching then. I don't know what sport you've been watching. And Leon Edwards has even come out and said he doesn't want to fight till March or April. So I believe it will happen most likely in March. That's 7 months away. You think Kamaru Usman needs to sit out a whole year because he got KO'd one time? When does that ever happen? So the whole narrative about keeping Leon Edwards active, these champions fight twice a year ever. Kamaru Usman was a very active champion. You know, he fought in November last year. He fought in August of this year. This was one of his, that was one of his longest layoffs, if I remember correctly. He was constantly fighting contender after contender. So, the year before that, I can't even remember. I remember he fought. So who did he fight last year? He fought Jorge and Colby last year. So he fought twice last year. The year before that, I think that's when he KO'd Jorge. And then last year he fought 3 times. He fought Gilbert Burns in February, Jorge in July, I believe. No, Jorge in April. So he returned 2 months later. And then he fought Colby in November. So he fought 3 times. So, I mean, Leon Edwards is not fighting till February or March at the best case scenario, regardless of who it's against. So I don't understand. So essentially, here's what you're saying. If you're campaigning for anyone other than Kamaru Usman to get a title fight next, here's what you're saying. You want to see Leon Edwards versus blank. Insert any fighter you're suggesting. Fight Leon Edwards in February of March. And then you want Kamaru Usman, a dominant champion who's been active. Like him or hate him, he's been active. He has to sit out till the end of 2023 to get his rematch. So I don't get it. Stop saying he needs to sit out. If that's been coming out of your mouth, you don't know what you're talking about then. Look at the schedule. Look at the schedule. Now, if Leon Edwards said, you know what, I want to be super active and this and that, and there's nobody headlining the November pay-per-view, then maybe we could have that conversation. But no. Kamaru Usman can return in 3, 4, 5 months. And one last thing, because then I'm going to move on to questions. I'm probably falling so far behind. I'm recapping UFC 278. This actually makes me want to punch a hole in the wall. When people say, the medical suspensions, okay? Let me give you a synopsis of medical suspensions from MMA. They mean absolute jack shit, okay? Here's why the MMA media writes these articles. Because they're clickbaity. Kamaru Usman suspended for 6 months because of being KO'd? Oh, I got to click that and see what that's about. It sounds catchy. People want to click it because they want to find out what it means. But once you get into those actual articles or you read the actual suspensions, it's suspended for 6 months, if not otherwise cleared by a physician. These guys fight all the time after they got KO'd. Conor McGregor got KO'd at the end of January, came back in the beginning of July after getting brutally slept by Dustin Poirier. I think they called it a TKO, but he was out cold, okay? Tony Ferguson just got flatlined by Michael Chandler, punted into the shadow realm, face down, out cold for minutes at the end of May. Guess what? When's he fighting? The beginning of September, which I actually think that's a little bit too soon for Tony Ferguson. I've talked about that. These medical suspensions mean absolute jack shit. And I actually get tired of the MMA media posting these articles. Oh, Kamaru Usman out for 6 months due to medical suspension. All they want to do is draw your clicks because it sounds like, oh my God, this is big news. Medical suspensions mean nothing. These MMA websites are dying. They're dying. I believe half of these MMA websites have their foot in the grave. I mean, they're just grasping at every tweet, every little thing they can post to stay relevant. And I'm talking even the biggest MMA websites. I mean, these MMA websites literally have one foot in the grave and the other on a banana peel. They will post an entire article with one sentence and then embedded is a tweet from a fighter. And these are some of the biggest names in MMA media. That's what they're doing because they need their websites to drive traffic and get clicks. Why do you think, let me single out some MMA fighting for a minute. Why do you think MMA fighting tweets out, new UFC 279 poster revealed? And guess what? You can click on the tweet and there'll be a picture there, but it won't be the picture of the poster. Guess why that is, guys? Because they want you to click on the link and then go to their website, and then now you get to see the poster. You got to their website now. These people, their websites are dying. I believe written form in general is dying. I think it's still important, but I think it is dying. And that you only have so much to talk about. They need to be posting multiple articles a day. And I just feel like half of them have no substance. I mean, let me go to their website right now. Let's go. We ended up on a rant about 278, and I don't know how we ended up here, but let's look at their website. It's a quote from Luke Rockhold on the MMA Hour. The MMA Hour is the only thing relevant anymore, as far as content. Outside of interviews of fighters, there is no relevant content on most of these MMA websites, regardless. Let's see. Dana White's Contender Series, Week 6. Okay. Ricky Simone explains why he's picking Aljamain Sterling to defeat cheater TJ Dillashaw. Oh, yeah, I can't wait to read that article. I literally don't go to these MMA websites. Dan Hooker versus Claudio Puelles and Brad Riddell versus Renato Moicano added to UFC 281. Okay, that's a decent article. That could easily just been a tweet. How is that even an article? All I need to do is read the headline. I never need to click on that. There is nothing of any substance on these websites, and they are so desperate to look for headlines. Kamaru Usman opens up as massive favorite in potential trilogy. Like, who's reading this shit? I mean, look at it. 7 comments, 49 comments, 12 comments, 31 comments. I get more comments on my YouTube videos than these. This is the biggest MMA website in the world, probably, or MMA news website. These guys are a dying breed, and it's sad to say. It really is. But that's why they talk about the medical suspensions. That's the whole point I'm getting to. Okay, we recapped 278. Let's move on to some questions. Guys, I'm going to miss some questions here. I just can't possibly keep up. So I'm just going to pick and choose a few until I catch up with the chat. Fill the chat with questions. If you're watching and you have not liked this stream yet, click the like button right now. If you're watching and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel right now. Also, guys, if you really enjoy the channel and you want to support the channel and you want to get some awesome benefits, become a member of the channel. We have a members only Discord where we discuss MMA and topics like these on this live chat. We discuss it 24/7. There's about 60 people in there. It's $3 a month. There's a bunch of other benefits as well. The link is in the description, but I also posted it in the chat. If you want to join, you click the link. You get to join the members Discord where we're talking 24/7. You can message me directly at any time. You get a loyalty badge next to your name, so you make sure I answer your question in the chat most of the time, 99% of the time. And you also get custom emojis, Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz, Khamzat Chimaev, Habib, Dana White, a bunch of emojis to use in the chat as well as the comments of videos. So become a member. It's $3 a month. The link is in the description, but I also post it in the chat. Okay, let's go. Let's go. Do you think the UFC should run with the UFC Apex as a venue for the future? No, I like the live crowd. Joey, isn't it kind of funny how every time you have a criticism of Colby, it's the same copy and paste defense for his fan? He had 2 close fights with the champ. Exactly. It's the Alexander Gustafsson effect. That's what I say. His biggest win is a loss to the former champion now. So, do you think Conor and Diaz will box for their 3rd fight? I hope it happens at some point, but I have a feeling it's not going to happen for 150 years. It's just not going to happen. You said you hate the ads on UFC, Matt. What if they made all the logos white like some boxing events? I'd prefer it. If Jorge Colby worked for WWE and Jorge did that to Colby on the street, WWE would have suspended or fired Jorge. Do you think the UFC should be repercussions? Yes, I do think there should be repercussions, but they're not going to. And if they were asked about it, what they would say is, this is a legal matter. This is being adjudicated in the legal system. Our hands are tied. No, they have a code of conduct. But they're not going to do it because it's a star power driven business. What would be a better fight at this stage, Nate versus Tony or Conor versus Nate? I love them both. If I could only pick one, I'd probably pick Nate versus Tony. We haven't seen Leon taking Usman and taking his back. I used to think Usman was big against Habib. I don't necessarily, I don't put a lot of value in that, to be quite honest. I feel like it was just a position where he wasn't expecting it. They were in a weird kind of scramble clinch position. He didn't expect to get tripped. Leon capitalized and ended up in full mount, and that's why it's not like he took him down and worked from full guard to mount to then taking the back. So I don't put a lot of stock in it, to be honest. Thoughts on the potential Darren Till Sean Strickland fight and build up? I wouldn't mind seeing it. But Strickland's got to fight, and Darren Till's always injured. Nate deserves a 3rd Conor fight. Makes sense for both right now. It's never going to happen. Leon only got Usman down because he wasn't expecting it. Yeah, that's what I agree with. Low key, I know UFC 279 has terrible fights, but I'm actually really looking forward to Stop it. Stop it. If they just wanted to throw bullshit fights together, they should have done Hooker versus Ferguson. I agree 100%. What's up, Niles? I'm a bit late, but did you see Bisbing's production team is being sued by UFC? What are your thoughts on this? It's weird, but I haven't looked into it too much. Let me bang, bro. Merab versus Aldo was weird. Cage squeeze to decision. Yeah, did nothing. Aldo tried to fight a little bit. Beltran was reffing most of the fights at 278. He's one of my favorites with Herzog. Herzog's my favorite ref. Can't blame Merab for not fighting to Aldo's advantage. If a grappler can't get you takedown. Yeah, but he didn't fight. He didn't fight. He stalled. He stalled a fight from happening. So his grappling ain't that great if you ask me. What percentage does Ty have against Gane? I'll give him a generous 20. I'll say less than 5%. Do you rate Edwards' skill set as a fighter? I guess you mean how do I rate? I think he's a very good fighter everywhere. And I think he beats a lot of these guys. I don't know, Dabrowski. You were telling me that he hasn't stuffed any takedowns for years, so you tell me. Thoughts on UFC going back to Orlando for Hermanson versus Brunson on December 3rd? I don't really have any thoughts on that. I think that fight makes some sense. If Merab's grappling isn't that good, then Aldo's anti-grappling is vastly overrated. He controlled him the entire fight. I think it's more of Aldo's takedown defense that's being complimented, not necessarily his anti-grappling. It's takedown defense. And if anything, you could say, it still was good because Merab did nothing in the clinch but knee to the thigh. So in my opinion, they were in a 50-50 position, basically. I mean, if Aldo was knee in Merab's thigh, would you give Aldo the round then? Or no, just because they're both hugging. A hugging is a 50-50 position, if you ask me. Breaking, Colby wants an MMA fight. Yeah, sources are telling me Colby Covington wants an MMA fight. So, you're drunk. Aljo is a better grappler than Yan. Well, go look at the two fights, and I didn't see that in either one of them. When do you think we see Chimaev versus Rachmanov? I'll say early 2024. Yan also didn't have his corner with him during the last fight. There you go. You've been killing me in Twitter, bro. Oh, you've been reading my tweets? I've been talking mad shit on Twitter recently to everyone. Basically everyone. I just feel like sometimes you have to call certain things out, and there's shit that I see constantly, and it aggravates me. So I just got to respond. Yeah, guys, if you don't follow me on Twitter, go follow me on Twitter at MMA Joey C. Let's Kai Kara France kill Merab at 125. Yan is an amazing fighter, but nobody can accept he was not the better man against Aljo. I think he was the better man. I don't care if he lost 3 rounds to 2 anyway. I think he was clearly better. I would literally bet almost anything that he wins a trilogy fight. I mean, Aljo looked like absolute dog shit in the 4th and 5th round. 1 round, nothing happened. That's the only reason Aljo got the win. It's because nothing happened in round 1. Yan just underestimated Aljo and was overconfident in those other rounds where he scrambled and gave up his back. You really think he should be cut, bro? You don't know what you're watching. As long as there isn't 5 Merabs on a card, different styles, it's like dating different. Okay. I didn't say he should be cut, but I'm just saying, performances like that, you should be cut. But I'm not necessarily campaigning for him. Costa really underperformed. I'm not sure if I'll pick him against another top 5. Would be a sad day if Pillishaw gets the belt again. I know. I can't stand TJ. I'm doing good. How are you? Joey, Luke did tell the UFC he retired. Okay, fair enough. Luke won't fight in the UFC. MMA won't let people comment during the live chat unless they're members. It's bullshit. Honestly, it's probably because there's a lot of ridiculous stuff going on that they can't manage. So they put a barrier of entry to it. So it does kind of make sense. I don't feel like Luke will fight again. He really seemed open and honest all fight week. Fair enough. Is there any fights that can save 279? Absolutely not. I don't care how good it is. I don't care if every fight on the card is a banger. It's still a shit card. Who do you think is a better fighter come out of Dana White's contender? Jamal Hill for sure. O'Malley still proved literally 0. I say Luke should take Hermanson or even Andre Muniz if he comes back. TJ Dillashaw as an underdog versus Sterling is free money. Do you agree? I'm very confident that TJ beats Aljamain Sterling. Do you really think Jose Aldo has announced his retirement? Rob should let Aldo announce that. Yeah, I thought that's another thing I forgot to mention. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Dude, he mentioned something to you in the post-fight, and you have no idea if he meant that in the heat of the moment or not, and you're announcing his retirement. I guess he had to say something to get people to care because no one gives a shit about Merab. But let's say Aldo really is retiring. That's the shittiest move I've ever heard in my entire life. And I doubt Aldo's done. I agree. Props to Leon, and Usman definitely deserves a rematch. Thoughts on Masvidal? He's disturbing. It's disturbing. It's actually happened earlier. I'm a Blanchfield truther. I was on her before anyone. I'm not crazy. Yeah, Blanchfield will beat Molly. Did Cody's next fight get canceled? Not that I've seen. It's supposed to happen in October. Regardless of who wins, a trilogy between Usman and Edwards would be an amazing fight. Definitely better than the first, with the added confidence on Leon's side and newfound hunger on Kamaru's side. Yeah, I think it's a fight that I'm really anticipating. Leon blew me away with that win. He earned that Rocky nickname, sure enough. I think the third fight will be really competitive. Leon might be more confident in the grappling, and his cardio likely won't be as. I'm hoping so, but I don't think so. What are the factors that happened in the first round versus Usman being ignored? What do you mean by that? I don't know what you mean. I think it would help Leon in a rematch if they don't fight at altitude this time. Fair enough. I don't think they will. They're going to fight in the UK. He almost choked Usman out, brother. What does that mean? He almost. So he almost choked him out means he didn't choke him out. So it's basically a non-statement in my opinion. I think Kamaru has always had big striking holes and they got exposed. I don't even think they did. I mean, I know he got KO'd, but it's just shit like that happens in MMA. Leon Edwards did a great job setting him up for that, and he fell for it, and he paid for it with his consciousness. But the majority of the fight, Kamaru Usman outstruck Leon Edwards. If Usman loses the trilogy in his prime, his prime is over, yeah. If he loses again, let's say he gets brutally KO'd again, he's done. Usman said, "See you soon, boy." I don't know what Edwards is going to do. Yeah, it's going to be the trilogy. There's no way the trilogy doesn't happen unless one of them gets injured. I would love Leon Khamzat fight and Usman fight winner. That's not going to happen. We got to keep the division. I've already addressed this. He's not out for a year. The biased in me wants to see Khamzat fight for the belt next. Fair enough. I want to see Khamzat fight for the belt too. I would pick Colby for sure. Brady's cardio, I cannot trust. They will do Khamzat versus Leon trilogy, then winner Khamzat beats Nate. I don't know what you're saying. What's up, Fast? Hope you're doing well. Molly versus Blanchfield. I got Blanchfield. Hooker versus Puelis. Who wins? Probably Hooker. If it's not Hooker, he gets submitted and he's done. Hanato Moyakano versus Riddell. Who wins? Riddell. Who wins the rematch between Yuri and Glover? I'll go Yuri all day. Probably never. He's probably going to get beat by his next opponent, depending on who they give him. What percentage? Okay, I already answered this. Joey says Merab should get dropped by the UFC and acts like it's the end of the world. Usman doesn't go right away. Happens all the time. I don't know what you're saying there, but okay. I wasn't actually campaigning. Do you care about bare knuckle fighting? Absolutely not. To be honest, other than getting KO'd and getting taken down, Usman looked best. Yeah, Usman looked better than ever. People are forgetting that. I agree. I thought you were one of the ones saying that in Discord that Aldo hadn't defended takedowns in years against any good grapplers or something like that. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you weren't in there. And if you weren't, my apology. If you're holding an opponent against the cage, they want to get away and can't despise actively trying. You're winning the position, damage or no damage. I think it's a 50-50 position. I think it should be counted as nothing. Absolute nothingness. And I'd be saying the same if roles were reversed. Yan is overrated. I disagree. Why do you believe Alice fight like a berserker? I'm not saying why do you believe Alice fights like a berserker? I don't think he does fight like a berserker, but it's because if you're talking about his forward pressure, it's because his ability to not worry about the takedown. Yeah, Lawler versus Santiago Ponzinibbio. Who the hell? What's the UFC doing? That's really unfortunate for you, Cyberpower. I'm sorry for that. My condolences. I'm going to 279 and the only card that was available in my work schedule. I hope they add one more name fight. They're not going to. Sorry. I still think Colby beats Leon 4 rounds to 1. I don't think so. I don't think Colby's as strong. And Leon has decent enough grappling. But we'll see if it ever happens. What do you think of Sarukian versus Gillespie? I like that matchup, but Gillespie doesn't want to fight. I think my girlfriend only wants me for my Venom gear. Is that possible? I don't go a day without wearing my kit now. Yeah, it's most likely. You should probably break up with her. She only wants you for your Venom gear. 2020 Jones versus Yuri. Who wins? Jones, for sure. For the first time, I think UFC actually needs. No, they don't. I don't want any change. I don't want any change in the divisions. Aldo versus Cejudo. I would have picked Aldo, but now I probably pick Cejudo. Cejudo would just press him against the cage as well. Absolutely not. And Brazil would make sense. I hope they don't make that. I said Merab would outpace Aldo, wear on him, but nothing really unfolded. Yeah, nothing happened. Then apologies. When Usman holds Leon against the cage, yeah, but he was taking Leon down and beating him up badly in the clinch, and also swarming him against the cage. That's two big differences there. And if you thought the main event was boring by any means, then stop watching MMA. I feel like UFC just wants to destroy legends of the game this year. Fair enough. I hope Cejudo doesn't fight again. He's turned into a goofball. I mean, I kind of want to see him fight again, but I'm not clamoring for it. Do you believe Charles fights in UFC 283 win, lose, or draw? I don't know. I'll say yes. Who is the best not undisputed champ in the UFC? Charles, Yan, Moreno, Kamaru, Max, Colby, Gane, Whitaker. Definitely not Gane. Definitely not Whitaker. Definitely not Colby. Definitely not Max. So it's either Charles, Yan, Moreno, or Kamaru. I'll eliminate Moreno, and I'll say it's either Charles, Yan, or Kamaru. I had a hair in my mouth for some reason. Charles, Yan, or Kamaru. Who is the best? I'll say Piotr Yan. Piotr Yan's the best. Just buy your girl her own kit. Current Charles versus 2017 Tony. Current Charles for sure. Would you support, I don't know what that last word is, influencers? I don't know what you're saying. I think Chandler can beat Colby at welterweight. I think it's possible. I would pick Colby probably, though. Shavkat should fight Wonderboy. Supposedly that's what happened next. Supposedly that's what's happening next. Nope, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Most of it was hooks landing on the gloves. Dude, he was beating up the body. He was landing way more than Leon was. And I would go as far to say he landed more in one round than Merab landed in 3 rounds. So, argument over. Debate over, actually. It's not an argument. Should we get an obituary for Wednesday ready? What is up with Shavkat matchup? Oh, for Wonderboy. I thought it said Wednesday for some reason. I mean, at the end of the day, Wonderboy is ranked, what, number 6, number 7 in the division? I mean, he can't just not take fights. He's got to fight somebody. I mean, he's number 7 ranked in the division. He's got to fight someone. He can't protect his ranking and not fight anyone. So, Shavkat's got to be tested at some point against somebody. So, I think it makes sense, but yes. I don't know. I guess it came from my mustache. I thought Kevin Holland was going to fight Wonderboy. I have no. That's just been rumored for a while. Would you want to see Max Holloway fight the winner of Giga versus Sadiq? I mean, that sounds like a fun matchup. That's not necessarily, okay, that should 100% be what's next, but I think it's a good idea. Wonderboy versus Holland would be cool. Yeah, but Shavkat needs to be tested. I mean, you can't just have everyone dodging everybody. They actually going to get Shavkat to perform a licensed execution on Wonderboy. Well, then Wonderboy should retire then. If you're number 7 and you can't take on number 11, then you should retire. What do you think happens if Yahya beats Cody? Cody's done. Yeah, Cody's done for sure. Venom Kit got me looking like a beast 100%. That's the point of him. Why is the UFC hiding Gane from wrestlers? Blades runs through him. I mean, it's one fight, bro. I don't know. I don't think you can say they're hiding Gane from wrestlers based on one fight. I mean, it's one fight. He's got one fight against Tai Tuivasa. That makes sense, arguably. So, hiding him from wrestlers, I think that's a bit extreme. My friend. A bit extreme. Where were we at? Main event of UFC 159. I remember that immediately. John Jones, Chael Sonnen. No. Yeah. John Jones, Chael Sonnen. Tell me if I'm right. I'm not checking it. I think that's what it was. No, wait. No, it wasn't. Was it? Let me think for a second. Was that it? I don't think that was it, now that I think about it. Maybe it was, though. I remember 158 was. Yeah, it was John Jones, Chael Sonnen. It was in April of 2013. I know what 158 was. 158 was GSP Nick Diaz. 157 is actually a tricky one, but I remember what it was. I believe it was Ronda Rousey, Liz Carmouche. I think it was 157. 156, Frankie Edgar versus Jose Aldo. Someone fact check me on these. Who has the better career between Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington? Jorge Masvidal, probably. Who is your MMA GOAT and why? Like current GOAT or all-time GOAT? Probably John Jones, but he has an asterisk because of the PEDs. If Max beats every opponent he gets next at featherweight and Alex remains the champ, no, it's not going to happen. Oliveira smashes Islam inside 3 rounds. Probably. Maybe not. Maybe. Who are your top 5 most well-rounded fighters in the UFC? Alexander Volkanovski, Piotr Yan. I don't know. If you're a member, guys, throw the Chris Curtis emoji in the chat. And you know what that's code word for, right? Does anybody remember what that means? There we go. There we go. That was fun. That was really fun. That was actually really fun. All Gon's opponents in the UFC has been strikers. Look it up. Oh, I thought you meant they're hiding him from him now that he got taken down by Francis Ngannou. Who are your okay? Read that. I got a tie by belly flop round 2. He's gonna knock Gon down and then climb up to the top of the cage and frog splash him. Does O'Malley get a title shot if he beats Yan? Yes. Yes, sir. You got it. Okay, fair enough. Main event of 147. 147, I believe, was Uriah Hall, Henan Burrell. No, it was not. It was not. Was it? Wait, 147 was Vanderlei Silva, Rich Franklin, I believe. Because 147 was originally supposed to be Anderson Silva, Chael Sonnen, and 1. But that got moved to 148. It's Rich Franklin versus Vanderlei Silva or Vanderlei Silva versus somebody. It was actually a terrible pay-per-view card. But it was Vanderlei Silva. I'm confident in. I actually have a terrible memory. Believe it or not, I have a terrible memory. I'll get on my post fights and forget half the stuff that I just watched. I hope so. Yeah, I would never watch that. He's terrible. In your opinion, who's the best boxer in the UFC? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that. Do you think Max should remain a gatekeeper at featherweight or should he move up to lightweight? Probably move up to lightweight. Prime DC versus current light heavyweight. How would DC do against him? He'd beat them all. How is Leon Edwards ranked below? The pound for pound's garbage, but I do kind of understand it. Oliveira versus Volk, who wins? I'll say Oliveira, but I don't know. Wish I could. Wish you could what? Max Holloway needs to move up. I agree. Can you imagine Charles obliterates Islam and then gets KO'd by Volkanovski in Brazil? That would be insanity. It was Franklin Silva too. So, okay. I was right then. I switched it up. The date is MMA Joey. The date is MMA Joey record 8/24/22. What are you trying to say here? Your favorite GSP fight? Probably the Carlos Condit fight. You're on fire today. Yep. Thank you. I hope Islam beat Oliveira personally because I find his fan base insufferable. Hope Islam beats Oliveira. Oliveira has an insufferable fan base. Do you think the UFC will attempt to re-sign Shane Burgos down the line? Nope. How would a Max versus Tony fight go? Max would probably win, but it'd be super interesting. Chael Sonnen thinks promotion is better than being good at fighting. Goes to show you how his career went. Yeah, Chael's an idiot, honestly. Do you think Yan recaptures the bantamweight title and defends it? Or do you think that belt is going to be on rotation for a while? I think that Yan recaptures it at some point in the next year or so. He'll recapture it. But in the meantime, it'll go on rotation, I believe. I believe it will go on rotation. McGregor versus Holloway 2 at lightweight for Connor's return fight. I like that idea. Book it. Does Volk fight before the end of the year? He said he wants to. What would be a good matchup? I want the Yair fight. Personally, selfishly, I want the Yair fight. Sean O'Malley will give Piotr Yan a better fight than what everyone thinks it could go either way. What do you think? I don't know exactly what you're saying. Are you saying Sean O'Malley versus Piotr Yan will be more competitive than people will think? Maybe. Maybe so. I think Yan beats him pretty decisively if I'm being quite honest. But it'd be crazy if he could pull it off. Imagine if Sean O'Malley upsets Jan. That'd be wild. That would be straight up wild. I mean, I'd be shocked. Venom Gear Joey's undefeated and undisputed. Dillashaw keeps the bantamweight belt for as long as he wants. I don't know about that. I think he loses to Jan. I want to see him versus Brian Ortega or Arnold Allen. Would you entertain an Arnold Allen versus Josh Emmett #1 contender fight? Yes, I would. I'd love that matchup. That'd be a lot of fun. That'd be a lot of fun. What we got here? Stop it. Stop it. What is going on? Hold on. What's up? Keep out. Hope all is well with you. All is well with me. Keep out. I hope all is well with you. Hey, Joe, if you were able to see the future of Saul Charles beat Islam, would you still watch the fight? Yes. I'd be disappointed if I already knew the result, though. I'd be pissed if I knew the result. But damn, would I have a damn good prediction video, though. I'd break it down strike by strike and pretend like I was God. To be honest, O'Malley just needs to fight well against Jan, even if he loses exactly. They'll elevate him off a loss anyway. Sean O'Malley's crafty. I didn't realize that I would give him props ever. I don't know if he's really shown that he's crafty, though. I don't know if he's really shown. I mean, let's look up. I haven't talked about his resume in a while, so let's talk about his resume real quick. I like how I typed Sean O'Malley. The first thing that populates is Sean O'Malley stretcher. Sean O'Malley stretcher. I mean, everyone that he's beaten, like, I don't know if Raulian Paiva is even still in the roster. He hasn't beaten anyone that's still in the roster, and he's been in the UFC for 4 years. No, he's been on the UFC for 5 years, basically. He'll be in the UFC 5 years this December. And he hasn't beat anyone that's still on the current UFC roster outside of maybe Raulian Paiva. I think it's still probably on the UFC roster. So we're in an interesting situation here where you go from fighting fighters who are terrible and trash cans. And I know the Pedro Munoz fight, but nothing happened. We don't know who was going to win that fight, so there's not a lot of takeaways from that. You got Raulian Paiva, Chris Montino. And when I say fight, I meant fight and win against anyone that's still on the UFC roster. Correction, fight and win. Because I know people are going to say, well, he fought Marlon Vera. Yeah, he did. Marlon Vera is now a top-ranked guy in the bantamweight division. But what happened when O'Malley fought him? Do you guys remember what happened? He was brutalized on the feet with the kicks. His legs were brutally chopped. Then he was shucked to the ground and flash KO'd with brutal ground and pound elbows. And then he was stretchered out of the cage with no serious injury. So that's what happened there. Where was I at? So I don't know how he'll do. For me, he's a complete question mark. Hardest hitting 185er and 145er of all time. Don't tell me it's Jeremy Stevens. I have no idea. I have no idea who would be the hardest hitter 185er or 145er. I really don't know. I think Chito loses to Merab and Sandhagen. Do you agree? Probably, yes. Since 279 is coming up, any other terrible cards come to mind for worst pay-per-views? Rashad Evans, Dan Henderson, but that was terrible because of injuries. I don't remember what number that was. Rashad Evans versus Dan Henderson. There's been a few. UFC 161 was garbage. UFC 161. Let's see what was on the card. Yeah, co-main event was Roy Nelson versus Stipe Miocic. Featured fight on the card was Ryan Jimmo versus Igor. I can't pronounce his last name. R.I.P. Ryan Jimmo. On the main card, Alexis Davis versus Rossi Sexton. Opening up the main card, Pat Barry versus Sean Jordan. The prelims were garbage too. The best fight you had was Jake Shields versus Tyron Woodley. Yeah, this was a terrible card, a really bad card. Really, really bad. Really, really terrible card. Bloody Nose Luke Rockhold is my new mythical MMA fighter. Fair enough. What's up? About to go back and rewatch during my night shift. Appreciate you, Mario. Appreciate you. And thank you for being a member, my friend. No serious injury. Chris Montigno is still in the UFC. No, he's not. If Whitaker beats Vettori in Paris, no, he will not. He will not. He's not getting another shot as long as Adesanya is champion. If he wins, you got to pair him against another like middleweight who wins an upcoming fight, like Jack Hermanson or something. O'Malley would smoke Cheeto if they fought again. Agree to disagree, Andrew. Would you be surprised if Islam gets beaten bad and convinces Khabib to come back and loses to Charles? Do you think Charles would be lightweight GOAT if he retires afterwards? Yes, but no, Khabib is not coming back. Cheeto would TKO O'Malley in the third. Cheeto would probably flash KO him again in the first round. I don't think Cheeto is overrated at all. I miss Roy Nelson. I don't. I mean, O'Malley isn't. Should the UFC book Yan Ankalaev for #1 contender? I love that fight. I suggested that fight a while ago. Love the 279 sucks video. Totally agree. What did you think of the thumbnail of the video? I made that in Photoshop. That's the first thumbnail I ever used Photoshop. It's super confusing, but I tried to mix something in there. Respectfully disagree. Vera just KO'd Cruz. I would say he belongs in the top 5. Yeah, definitely. I'm from Ireland, and when I listen to Americans talk about gambling, what does one unit mean? I don't even understand gambling myself. I'm not a gambler, but I think it stands for like a certain denomination of money. So they'll talk about it in terms of like $20 and it could be one unit, I think. I don't know why they say it like that instead of just saying the dollar amount. How does Whitaker do at 170 or 205? He gets destroyed at 205, 170. He could have some success, but it's hard to say. Probably get out-grappled, and the weight cut would be detrimental to him. So it's hard to say. Let's say Petr Yan destroys O'Malley, and he gets the title shot. Who wins these fights? Vera versus Merab. I got Merab. Aldo versus Cruz. I'd probably pick Aldo. Sandhagen versus TJ. I'd pick Sandhagen again, and I think Sandhagen would win again. And Yan versus TJ Aljo winner. Oh, Sandhagen versus TJ Aljo loser. I would pick Sandhagen to beat them both. And Yan versus TJ Aldo winner. I'd pick Yan to beat either one of them as well. Sean O'Malley's overrated, but he's not. But he is not proven. I put alert because you give famous line, no serious injury. Fair enough. O'Malley needs to put some size on. I agree. What's next for Jalen Turner? I don't know. Hopefully a big fight. Honestly, Cheeto is just the worst matchup for Sean. He's durable and good striker with great cardio. Could be. Styles make fights. Matchup makes fights. I'm going to say it, Joey. You give Sean O'Malley way too much crap. I don't like Sean, but he is really damn good. Yeah, well, I guess I would look damn good too if I beat up a bunch of trash cans. So, what do you think Jamal Hill should? Who do you think should Jamal Hill fight next? I'd like to see him against Yan or Ankalaev, either one of those. That was a fire title with the flags and Dane in the middle. Fair enough. I'm working on learning Photoshop. I'm working on learning it. I think Jamal Hill knocks out Yuri. That'd be a very interesting matchup. I so bad want Leach and Chimaev to pull out so we can get Diaz. Yes, me too. Did you see the report that Oliveira is expecting a counter fight in Brazil if he wins at 280? If so, what? I hope it doesn't happen. I hope that's just made up. Fight of the year is probably Collier. Stop it. What's next for Jose if he doesn't retire? Dominic Cruz. How do you think Yan does against Merab? 2 different paces and 3 rounders, and I believe the fight is going to happen. I think Yan would beat up Merab pretty badly. I think it'd be a pretty decisive win for Petr Yan. Merab is going to fight Cheeto, and that's going to be the end of that. Held up against the cage for 15 minutes. I would go for Cheeto in that fight, though. It'd be interesting when it got into the later rounds. Would the takedowns come as easy in the later rounds? Because I think he'd be able to get Cheeto down. Volk versus Islam Charles. I'd probably pick Islam or Charles against Volk. Turner versus Sarukian. I'll take Turner. There's no way Sandhagen beats any of those guys, especially Sterling. Well, he literally beat TJ Dillashaw last year. So I don't know what you're saying. I don't know if you got this question, but I would love to know your opinion on Khabib versus Usman. I would pick Usman. I think Khabib would be too small. Li Jingliang is a savage. Fair enough. Sandhagen already beat Sterling. You mean Sterling already beat Sandhagen? Who is the best striker overall between Volk and Yan? Because both of them are excellent on the feet. That's a tie. Cruz versus Aldo retirement fight thoughts. That's the fight I think should be made. I think that's the fight that be made. It makes the most sense to me. Merab versus Moreno at 125. I don't think Merab can make 125, but then I take Moreno. I think Merab would be diminishing returns for him. Who's your OG fight? Who your OG fight? I don't know what you're saying there. That's how odds work. For example, Usman is negative 300. That means you would have to bet 300 to gain 100. Fair enough. What's next for Joel Alvarez? I have no idea. Someone outside the rankings. I mean, I thought he was going to beat Sarukian and brutalize him. Merab is solid, but definitely won't be a fan favorite style-wise. Usually it's not that bad. Usually he's pretty exciting, but I get what you're saying, yeah. Shit, I was thinking Moraes. If Tony beats Lee, who should he fight next? Robbie Lawler, maybe? I don't know. Anyone but a top-ranked guy. And plus negative 200, plus 200 means you bet 100 to gain 200. Yeah, I understand that at least, but thank you for explaining it even more. Who should Alex Caceres fight now that he's ranked at 145? I don't know at all. Maybe Dan Ige? Maybe Dan Ige. Do you think there will ever be another? Hopefully not. Prime Silva versus current middleweights. I think Prime Silva smacks them all. Joel Alvarez should fight Guram next. That'd be fun. That'd be two of the best unranked 55ers against each other. Did you see the BMF title was dumb? Yes, I did think it was dumb. Joey, give me the odds you think John Jones ends up at 282. I think it's 50-50 right now. I feel like deep in my heart, I feel like it's not going to happen, but there's a chance. Should Tony stay at welterweight? Yes. Hooker versus Max at lightweight. Max. People sleeping on Tony, one tough at 170, all by knockout. I think the extra weight. I hope so. I hope you're right. Just announced Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez at 279. Really? So it's getting a little bit better, huh? I mean, we're 2 weeks away and they're announcing that. Let's go take a look. I want to go see this for myself. Yep. About time they added a decent fight. Still not a good card. Still not a great card. I mean, any other card, that's main event in the prelims. I see it, though. But I think that's a fun matchup. I think it's crazy they're adding fights 2 weeks out, though. I really think that's insanity. But thank you for letting me know. I don't know who I'm picking in that one. I'll probably go Kevin Holland. I think he's the better striker. If you were Tony's manager, what would you want him to hang it up? No, I'd look for favorable matchups or winnable matchups in 5-round fights. Usman Nurmagomedov will be a new lightweight champion. Patricky Pitbull is a terrible fighter. I don't think he's a terrible fighter at all. Who wins the trilogy fight between Usman and Edwards? I say Usman, but I see how everyone's going. I think Usman. I'm confident Usman wins. Question, does MMA Twitter piss you off? Getting into MMA the last couple months, these people on MMA Twitter are very annoying. Yeah, MMA Twitter is actually really annoying, for sure. For sure. For sure. Guys, we're already an hour and 40 minutes in. If you haven't already, do me a favor and like the stream. Run up the likes on the stream. Everybody go and like the stream. We got to start getting the live chat weekly views to 1,000. Every video on the channel gets over 1,000 views, but occasionally, it feels like the live chat doesn't get it. So run up the likes on the stream. Help out the channel. Do you think Justin is done? He seems like he has too much damage after his fight. His manager's avoiding Rafael. Rafael's the best matchup. No, I don't think he's done. He's going to fight Fiziev this year. Is Kevin Holland booked? What's next for Wonderboy? Wonderboy's fighting Shavkat Rakhmonov. I try to. Not all of them, but I try to. Colby versus Bilal. I'll take Colby. Why is Bilal underdog against Brady? I think Bilal wins that. I don't know. I think it's a competitive fight. Could go either way. If Miocic doesn't get the Jones fight, who does he fight next, or does he retire? I don't know. A combination of Gane, Blades, one of those guys probably. At this rate, Tony will end up like Pettis getting embarrassed by tomato cans in PFL. No, I refuse to believe that. D-Rod beats Holland. Okay. Twitter is just a cancerous place for all communities. I don't think it's that bad, really. I don't think it's that cancerous. It depends who you follow and stuff like that. I like it for news. It's the best place for MMA news. But there's a lot of annoying people in there. There's a lot of annoying people in there. So I get what you're saying. Where were we at? Twitter's just a garbage platform in general, MMA community or not. I don't think it's that terrible. I think, to be honest, though, I think all MMA, or not all MMA, I think all social media platforms are terrible. Like, I don't like any of them per se. Instagram used to be the best, but now they're garbage. All you do is see ads. Twitter's ramping up ads. Facebook's nothing but ads and, terrible posts. And I mean, it's all garbage. So I already have a low bar to begin with. So that's why I'm just saying, I don't think it's that bad. If you go there and just follow like nothing but MMA reporters, which is pretty much what I do, it's not bad. These live chats are goated. Appreciate you. You're getting close to 5K. Yeah, we're at 4,600. We're at 4,600 subscribers. We're at 4,600 subscribers. So if you're watching right this very second and you're not subscribed, go subscribe to the channel right this very second. And also, if you are subscribed, turn on notifications. Go down and turn on notifications so you can get notified every time I put out a video. Help me grow the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. What's next for Anthony Smith? A long layoff. Respect from London. Stay up to 1 a.m. for these streams every Wednesday. Best MMA Outlook on YouTube. Thank you for staying up and watching. Appreciate you. What's next for Shevchenko? I want to see a rematch against Talia Santos. Can Prime Woodley beat anyone in the top 10 of 170? Yes. He can probably beat quite a few. What does Alex P fight next if he beats Izzy? Izzy again? Am I talking about Rafael Fiziev? Yeah, I think Rafael Fiziev is the next fight. I'm convinced Arrow only defended Rockhold because he had an interview coming up with him. Definitely, probably. Also, he wanted the controversy. Della Maddalena fight news. Why is Colby scared of Khamzat? I have no idea. Holland versus D-Rod, if you didn't see it. Yes, we just talked about it. I'm going with Holland probably in that one. I'm probably going with Holland. That's an interesting matchup. But it's still, 279 still isn't great, but it's better than what it was. I miss MySpace, but then again, I'm always told that it's still around. But yeah, MySpace used to be good. I feel like you can't see one post on Twitter with having a civil. That is true. That is very true. It depends. Like, you just got to block those people and weed those people out. Like, I don't deal with too much of that. Well, till recently, I tweeted something out. I responded to somebody and I got like hundreds of responses and I started getting messages talking shit. But outside of that one instance recently, I can't believe how many. I probably have gotten like 2,000 Twitter notifications in the last day from responding to people. If you're in the Discord, you know what I'm talking about, or you can go look for yourself. But outside of that, it's an okay place to communicate sometimes. Do you think Khamzat tags Nate Diaz and finishes him, or do you think he takes it? I think he could do either. I think he can play with Nate Diaz and absolutely wreck him badly. Dana talked about Colby wanting a fight. Who do you think they pair him up with? We already talked about this. It's going to be Gilbert Burns, Khamzat after a win over Nate Diaz, or Jeff Neal. See you later, Diego. I think Jeff Neal against Masvidal is a competitive fight. I agree. Outside of Jan, can Corey beat anyone in 135? Can he beat anyone? Yes. Jake Matthews is a good prospect. What's next for him? I don't know. He should get a big fight after that win over Andre Fialho. I think is how you pronounce his name. So I don't know. I don't know who specifically he should fight. I wouldn't mind seeing him against Ponzinibbio, but Ponzinibbio is now fighting Lawler, which is so dumb. How does Corey Aljo rematch go, do you think? I don't know. I'm curious about that because I think Sandhagen just underestimated him. But my brain is telling me Aljo probably just outgrapples him again. Have you ever got retweeted by a UFC fighter? I think that's what it's called. Yeah. Chris Curtis a couple times. I don't know about anyone else. I don't remember. Bo Nichols is the one guy I want to see KO'd. Barely started fighting and already overhyped. Dude's beating nothing but cashiers. Did we already ask what's next for Jimmy Crute? No, but I have no idea what's next for Jimmy Crute. He's injured. Who knows when he's coming? Actually, is he injured? Didn't he just lose? I don't know. But either way, it's just going to be maybe he can fight the loser of Walker versus Kutalaba. Do you think if they ran Masvidal versus Diaz back, Diaz would have a chance? Nope. And do you think the first fight was a bad stoppage by the doctor? I think it was okay. I want Nate Diaz to beat Khamzat just so another hype stream can be derailed. That would be nuts. Why are you so mad is the only thing people say online when you disprove that they're saying. Yeah, people can't have what am I reading here? People, if you try to argue with logic and they don't have nothing to argue back that's logical, all they do is just say dumb stuff or insult you. As it stands right now, Izzy's the longest reigning champion. Kingpin Izzy. Oh, I did not know that. That's crazy. Jones has 13 total defenses, not consecutive, but still wild. Exactly. It is wild. Jones. People don't realize Jones went through, nothing but killers. They should do Colby Burns in Brazil. That'd be fun. That'd be fun. Book it. Bo beating Cashier should be the new carded off without serious injury. It will be if they keep hyping him up. Fight me, Joey, UFC 279, UFC 270. Okay, that's disturbing, but okay. UFC 270, you're talking about Ngannou gone, or UFC 280? Yes, Kamaru does get his title back. As well as you think Razak will get a title one day. Too early to tell. Chandler Poirier prediction, I'm going Dustin Poirier by TKO stoppage. I don't trust Chandler's cardio or chin. If Tony does beat Leach, who does he fight next, in your opinion? I don't know. Hopefully a more desirable matchup at 170. What about Izzy and Ngannou will lose their title as well? I don't know to who. What's up, Alvaro? What's going on? It's going to be wild if Jones gets the heavyweight belt, but if Ngannou still has it when Jones gets there, yikes. That's a fight that I'm dying to see. Brazil will boo Colby's punk ass. Yes, they will. The difference from 279 to 280 is whack. Yeah, I know. It's annoying as hell. New rule, overthinking answers. You must overthink your answer to this question. Is Corey Sandhagen good? Yes. Chiesa versus Poirier. Who wins? Chiesa. Without wrestling. I feel like Corey can become champ. He's still young and hasn't really lost by a huge margin. Also, they're considering they have been top fighters. I agree. I have no idea. You brought up a good point in your recap video of 278. There's no way Kamaru comes back the same. The inevitably factor is huge and has been the demise of many champs. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I think Kamaru wins, though. How do you think Tony will look? How do you think Tony will look at 170? I think he'll look good and then probably get KO'd. But I don't know. I might even pick Tony. I don't know, but I hate the matchup. Thoughts on Hooker's next fight? Can he win? Yes, unless he gets taken down and submitted. If he gets taken down, he'll get submitted, but I think he can avoid the takedown against Puelis. Doesn't have the best takedowns. Valentina is actually the longest reigning champ. There you go. Joey, do you know if Alex beats Izzy, he'll be number one pound for pound? No, he shouldn't be. But pound for pound is just super subjective. Razak should be the bantamweight. Should be bantamweight, not middleweight. Should be bantamweight? I don't even know what you're saying. Who wins, Merab or Cruz? Probably Merab just holds him against the cage and hold him for, all fight pretty much. Colby versus Neal, who wins? Probably Colby with his grappling. Prime Silva versus Prime GSP, who wins? Prime Silva. If Dillashaw wins the belt, do you think he keeps it? No. It's crazy that UFC is almost 30 years old. That is crazy. Who wins Michael Johnson versus Hooker? Welcome back to the second episode of Overthink Answers. Our second question: how could Conor versus Tony in 2017 have gone? Colby would just out. Oh, Conor versus Tony in 2017. Tony would have wrecked him badly if he didn't get KO'd in the first round. Who wins, Michael Johnson or Hooker? I think it'd go either way. Michael Johnson's super inconsistent. I actually think the Usman's trilogy will be in the UK. Yes, it'll definitely be in the UK. The Contender Series has made the UFC worse. You got a random bums plaguing cards compared to before we had the best talent. The barrier of entry into the UFC has vastly regressed over the past few years, as well as UFC and WWE Raw debut the same year. Does Blood Diamond get cut from the UFC? Probably not, because he's friends with Adesanya, but he should be. How am I falling behind in the chat, guys? How am I falling behind in the chat? I don't know what's going on. This is going to be the longest live chat ever, guys. Keep the questions coming, and we'll keep going for a little bit longer. Maybe we'll go 2-hour live chat. Usually I go an hour and a half. This is a 2-hour live chat. Let me take a drink. Okay. Hey, Joey, what's your opinion on fighters bringing their children to UFC events? I talked about it on my dedicated video for the main event of UFC 278. I hate it, and I think it's the dumbest thing ever. The skill gap between Izzy Whitaker and the rest of the middleweights is crazy compared to Whitaker, Dodge, Gaslam, to Cannonier barely beating him. It is insane. Dogged Gaslam. Yeah. It is crazy. Whitaker and Adesanya are just head and shoulders above the rest. Who wins, Neal or Jorge? I'll pick Neal. Joey, thoughts on Usman falling from 1 to 4 in the pound for pound? I thought it was a bit extreme. I think it's weird because I think Usman looked better than ever. So that's why I hate pound for pound. Marab is Joey's least favorite fighter now? Nah. Mike Jackson deserves a title shot over Jorge Masvidal, sure. I assume if Weili beats Esparza, Rose will fight Weili for the third time. Hopefully not. Hopefully Marina Rodriguez. Oh, yeah, Valentina I meant men's. Fair enough. Prediction for pay-per-view buys for Usman Leon 3. I'll say 700,000. What is going on here? Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second, my friend. Did somebody message me on Discord? Leo, did you message me on Discord? Let me go take a look, see. I got something here. What's that? Dabrowski. Hold on 1 second. Guys, keep the questions coming. Oh, man. There we go. Okay. Where was I at? Now I lost my spot. Where was I at? I have no idea where I was at. Thoughts on the moronic fake fans saying Usman should work? They're delusional. I talked about it earlier. I'll have a timestamp in the description about UFC 278 recap. I'm saying Razak Al Hassan should be turned into a bantam instead of middleweight. He's too small. Bantamweight's 135. So maybe you're saying welterweight. Would you put Poirier on all the time lightweight list despite never winning a title? Yes. Probably top 5. Probably top 5. How would you feel about Dana dishing out so many interim belts? I feel like they're unnecessary. I get tired of it. All the time. Volkov versus Sergey, who wins? Probably Volkov. Has the UFC really been doing 50K bonuses for 20 years like Larcold says? That needs to change. Yeah, they've been doing it for a long time. Who wins, D-Rod or Tony? Probably D-Rod. Where? Who's lurking? Yeah, we got a bunch of people lurking. Chaos Williams would have been a great fight for Tony at UFC 279. I don't know if I would have wanted that either, honestly. Who wins, Costa or Pereira? Pereira. Who you have liked, Michelle Pereira or Tony versus Tony instead? Yeah, I would have liked that instead. That would have been better. How did I fall so far behind, guys? Fast turnaround for older Tony. Think he'll be shredded at 170? I hope so. I hope he goes back to his wrestling a little bit. Islam or Charles, settle it. Charles. When will you do a free day where you give everyone the Discord for a day? I don't know yet. I don't know. I've occasionally given people the Discord, very rarely. But I like having the barrier entry because it keeps the quality of people in the Discord pretty solid. We've only ever had one asshole in the Discord. So I like just keeping it. If anybody wants to join the members Discord, become a member. The link is in the description. Become a member. Still feel, yeah, UFC 279 still isn't good. Still isn't good at all. How would 2016 look if Conor never? I have no idea. I would have loved Holloway versus Ferguson instead. That would have been fun. Who wins at 155, Cejudo or Ferguson? Ferguson. Tony versus Poirier, both in their prime. I'll take Tony. Do you think Jorge deserved title shot if he KOs Burns? Absolutely not. How big was Kevin Lee's hype? It was pretty big. If Yoel Romero stayed in the UFC, do you think he would still be top 5? Probably not anymore. Top 5 UFC GOATs. In no particular order: Anderson, Jones, Stipe, GSP, Mighty Mouse. Something along those lines. Habib, throw Habib in there. Who wins between Jorge Masvidal and Wonderboy? Definitely Wonderboy. Wonderboy's already beat him before. Does Aldo retire or keep going? I think he still keeps going. I scored one of them for Yoel, and the other one was razor thin. What's next for Tony if he gets past Li Jingliang? Hopefully Robbie Lawler. Something like Robbie Lawler or I don't know who else. Something like that. Something that's more manageable for him and somebody without KO power. But Robbie Lawler does have KO power, but not like one-punch KO power. So, all right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. We did a 2-hour stream. I appreciate you guys for joining me. I really do. So, we did a 2-hour live chat today. 2-hour live chat. We talked about UFC 278. We talked about everything in the title, so we're good to go. We talked about Ferguson versus Li Jingliang. I have a dedicated video on that if you want to check it out. And I think that pretty much does it. I appreciate you guys for joining me. Don't forget to like the stream. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And I will talk to you guys in the next video or next stream or whatever comes next. I don't know. Maybe I'll do another video on 279 now that we have some more information on it. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow or something. So I appreciate every single one of you guys and enjoy the rest of your night. Take it easy.